Hello. It is early in the morning again. Same video, same tea, but a different day. Same clothes. Well, no, I did like multiple videos. Everything gets all confusing, like time. It's like that's mainly what you're doing with videos and editing is like manipulating time, right? As always, I might be floundering. I might not know what I'm doing, but one of the things that I'm very confident in is I love give directly. I want to give them more money. I have a Patreon. I don't have email signups. I do have basically an email for $2 a month. One of those dollars will go help me continue making the podcast. The other dollar will go to give directly because I want to give half of what's given to me for their cause. And I also want to boost them. Give directly is great. The best thing to do is just hand the money and let them fix their money problems as they see best. It's just good. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Good day. I am Ben Brown, or BR Benji. And last time I was like kind of overly prepared. I think I psyched myself out. And then I got like totally sidetracked on front end things. And I even went over my like Star Trek-y, wouldn't this be amazing? And so we'll see if that happens. I don't know how high on the pie, I don't know how far up in the sky this pie goes. Here we are. It's in the daytime. Today's a beautiful day. Animals, as soon as I opened up the door, they both ran out and they just had a lot of fun. I thought I was going to go on a walk, but it turns out they just wanted to run around in our little tiny house community. All right. So today, if there's anything to talk about, there's this really experimental thing that I did. I'm probably not even going to like grace it with a name. I've been calling it Codename Rome. There isn't really anything to show you, which is why this video is doomed. The thing is, there's this app, talked about it before, it's Rome Research. It's just great. It's a note-taking app. So I can be like, note, ABC. And inside of each of these, it can be like, B note, dogs are cute, pizza sauce recipe. So these notes are nested. Underneath note, it has these children of A, B, and C. And the truth is, all these things are incredibly flexible. I can throw things in different orders. I can go from A and put it into my pizza recipe thing. I can take it out and put it in C. I can take it out of notes and give it its own little scenario in here. And so the nesting is completely infinite, and you could do any kind of combination, arbitrary like depths. I kind of see these things as, this is going to be, I don't know, like maybe pretentious. If I write a sentence, each word comes one after another. And if anything, I think that's probably one of the best definitions of single dimension. So like, it's like a line, right? Like it just moves line-like. Single dimensional. You can either be before something or after something. It's like this sequence, one thing after another, one thing after another. Two-dimensional is this. And things can have relationships like above and below and right of and different angles and things. Relationships that are beyond sequence, right? Just pure sequence. A spreadsheet is basically interacting with data in a two-dimensional kind of way. In the two-dimensional shape, like things have new relationships. That relationship can become quite interesting in spreadsheet world because you can be like, there's 25 over here, 5 over here. I'm going to sum up these two rows. And boom, now I've got 30. So this like, oh, grab this left thing, grab this thing on this coordinate, and then manipulate them in a certain kind of way. And I think spreadsheets are really powerful because of this two-dimensional relationship of different things. That can be like really satisfying. I suppose the word is like do computation on these things dependent on their two-dimensional arrangement. In between, you have 1.5 dimension, which like isn't that crazy to think about? What are they? How fractally is this thing? There's a great 3 blue 1 brown video about like that. How fractally is this coastline, right? This ends up having a 1.5 dimension kind of number to it. If you can create this relationship where something is inside of something or outside of something, yeah, you end up creating this like, is there a way to draw it? Kind of think of like nested dolls, right? This is the parent, and this is child 2, right? This is child 1, that's child 3, right? Making sense? Making sense? I'm gonna call it nesting, where it's bloop, bleep, bleep, bleep. That kind of sells it. Then there's the ability to bi-directional link. It means I could link to another day. And so now here, inside of this nested structure, I can zoom in to February 2nd. That's a little bit private, so I don't necessarily want to do that one. Like Urbit. Man, that's also some sensitive information. I'm going to make a new one called bi-directional link. Boom. This just created another node, another page, they call it. And in this page, I have the title and I have everything that's linked to it. So back into this, 1.5 dimension nested hierarchy, I have all of it. I have it all connected here, right? Which means I could jump back to February 6th and see this connection. I've linked the two things. It's not one thing knows about something else and links to it and just creates I guess it's like a chutes and ladders, right? Like, like you just make a chute down to the thing and then that's it. If you connect it with a ladder, then you could go up or you could go down, and now those things actually know about each other and they're connected. These two things I feel like those are the powerful things of Roam research. That's what I care about. I can make these arbitrary connections across all these different pages as well as the nested nodes inside of it. Inside these nodes, you can also put things like images, right? And so that becomes pretty interesting. Or you can do images. These are some of my favorite. I drew some of these things. And so what you put into there can be quite complex. Let's power up an Urbit devcomet.run. Locally, we'll power this sucker up. I built an app called Roam, but I don't have a tile here that is Roam because I realized it would be a huge waste of time to try to create the front end, all this stuff that Roam Research has. While I didn't build a front end called Roam, I did hijack another thing that would kind of automatically generate front ends, even though it's not intended to do that. This is, I think, quite literally a hack. What it was is I took advantage of this app called Docs. If you download Docs, Docs has a structure where any app, all they have to do is make a folder called Docs. You can put all the instructions, like the how-tos. Docs even has its own documentation. Yeah, it's very clean. It's very nice. But you can also just hijack it and be like, hey, I'm going to make a Docs. What I was able to do is create this fake front end by taking advantage of this. Let's see, did I even finish writing these things? Welcome to Roam. Double link any two files in the Urbit universe. The main function of Roam. Note taking is nice too. Explore your connections. Yeah, I wrote this little. Oh, I did not finish it. I also have this link. This creates a brand new file inside web that can be seen here in Docs. So let's give this one a shot. Let's see. Roam new this. That colon means I want to talk to an agent, the Roam agent. This bar new means that Roam agent, it knows what I mean when I say new. It can save you a lot of typing through something like that. I'm going to create a new one and I'm going to call it Notes Pandas. Let's see how that goes. Wow, I had it spit out a whole bunch of things. Creating the Udon. Udon is like a markdown file. It's kind of like a text file, .txt, right? Or a .doc. And yeah, let's go take a look. It's not going to be here, but maybe if I back it up. Yeah. So then I'm back out here. I created a path called notes, and it's pandas. So this file was generated from Roam. That's neat. Back over here, you can see that I could have shortcutted figuring this out, that there is a new file, my ship. There's a desk called Roam. I have committed it 544 times. This is the 544th version of it because I'm super good at what I do, and it just doesn't take me very long, just no sell it. It's got a folder called Docs, Web, Notes, and it's a Panda Udon file. And there it is. I can also edit it. So I can open it up and be like, now I've changed thy file, and I can save that. And you can see where this plus sign is like, oh, you added a new file. This colon is like, oh, hey, you made a modification to a file. And then, quite a long the route of bad UX. I had to back up, and then refresh. And look at that. Now the pandas Udon has this stuff. Link any two files on your Urbit. Use terminal, aka dojo, roam bar, link, and I want to link the notes pandas that I created. And then this new one that I haven't written, top animals. So let's see what happens. So it runs through a bunch of things. Top animals wasn't made before. So it created top animals Udon, so that document file, and then it modified not only top animals and then the notes. Both of these got modified because I needed to link them and I needed to show that they were linked. So let's go back to the pandas. And look, now we've got links where I've linked top pandas, and for some reason spider top animal is going to look the same. But we also have these links down here at the bottom. So I can jump notes pandas. Yeah, you know what? Like now that I'm like really messing with it, like I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Especially with that instruction. This is my super fake version of Roam. You know, you can't like click or you can't re-nest things, you know. There's no like understanding in this kind of like nesting hierarchy. I think that's completely missing. Like all I really have is the bi-directional thing. Very simple, very prototypey. Well, it is a prototype. It's so much a prototype. I don't think it's going to become a real thing. But I learned something really interesting making it, and you'll let me crack it open. Our timer's up. I gotta take a little break. Let's take a look at it like this. Got the Roam app here. I'll show you the app here in a second, the app proper. But it also has this doc folder or directory in here. And inside there, I have, maybe it'll be easier to see it together. I have an overview. It gets placed on the top. This is something that Docs does automatically. And then I've defined these two other folders inside of Docs. And so use has my link in new. Web has my notes, which will have pandas. Anytime you create a new file and register that with Roam, it will create one of these Udon things. Here's the Roam app. I am not going to explain a lot of these things. I've mentioned before about how an app, a lot of times you're just poking it and then you're interested in seeing how it changes on the inside. So you want a little window on the inside. That's what you need. This state is the stuff that's being remembered on the inside. And it's the stuff that gets manipulated because of pokes. In this case, it's really simple. There's a thing called beam. Man, this is just so much to talk about. Well, I'm going to have to explain what a beam is if I'm going to move forward. Those are the instructions. Here on Urbit, let's go to the docs. And here, we're going to search for beam. All right. So this is beam. It's considered a global name. And like, sometimes whenever you hear the word global and stuff in computers, it's like, all right, sure, you just called it whatever you wanted. This, in a sense, is a very aptly named. It is a global name. Hello. Early in the morning again. Everything gets all confusing, like time and sequence. It's like that's mainly what you're doing with videos and editing is like manipulating time, right? Let me return to where we were. There isn't too much. I didn't turn that off, I don't think. This is what I'm writing on. The Remarkable 2, or maybe just the Remarkable. I can't remember if it's numbered or not. I just have a great buddy who didn't get a lot of use out of it, but like noticed that I really liked it, and so he's great. His laptop came from him too. Like, oh my gosh, best guy ever. He's not the best because he gives things away, but he's the best because he's just the best guy. He was at my wedding, so we were interrupted. I ran out of space on one of my devices. I was trying to explain a beam here. I just realized if I'm going to get anywhere in explaining this really simple aspect of this app, it's like so simple. It's like it's almost like not even worth making a thing. Like it maybe should be a primitive thing, but you have to like think through why it'd be useful. To move forward, we have to explain what a beam is. So in the Urbit world, you have a thing called global name. A lot of times whenever you see something on a computer that's like global, it's just talking about the whole computer. And it's almost more of like a metaphor, I suppose, that it's like, oh, I have a setting and it's global. It's going to affect everything. In this instance, global is not a metaphor, really means a global name, like speaking of the entire Earth, all names. When you make a file on your Urbit, it will have a completely unique name and will never cross over with any kind of other file name. Having a completely global namespace is a almost miraculous feat. It allows computers to do something that computers could never do before. Very key component here. And if we break down a beam, the last half of the beam is a path. So this is kind of classic. You have your like path to a file, your directories, and then ultimately, your file dot text. Oddly enough, Urbit doesn't have extensions like .text, and so it's actually just a slash, right? And so we will just keep that. In the first half of this cell, this like collection, you have these different things: a ship, a desk, and a case. The ship is the name of your Urbit. So in my case, it would end up being, so I have Nordis Machwile. Nobody else has that name. There are 4 billion unique names like this. Because it's right at the front, completely unique. From here on, we've established an ability to differentiate between every single person who's using a computer. You also have a desk. It's basically a folder, large directory or folder on your computer. It acts very like independently on the Urbit because it's in this container, this like nice big folder. You can actually give it to other people. It's almost like an app, like if you were going to download an app, but it's an app that can have other apps inside of it. In a lot of cases, it's almost like its own little computer. So in this case, our desk is Rome. You can even see it down here. In fact, let's modify the path here. We don't know what a case is yet. We've got our ship, we've got our desk, case, the path, which is like, okay, from that desk, there's a folder called app, and in it, there's something called Rome.hoon, as seen down here. In Urbit world, it would just be Rome/hoon. Case is a really interesting one. It actually has quite a bit of complexity added to it. What it comes down to is only our computer can write to the path of our ship. Nordis Machwell is reserved. Inside the desk ends up getting a version. You have my paper, rough draft, my paper, version 1, version final, my paper, version final, copy, that kind of thing, but like it's handled automatically. So every single time you save it, the case gets incremented. Along with that increment is also an understanding of the date. In place of it, you could always, although today is the 7th. So it's like it has inherent inside of it the date, but also it like increments. Like, oh, I saved it, it's 2. Oh, I saved it again, it's 3. Oh, saved it again, it's 4, right? And this means every single version exists. And inside your Urbit is this like version controlled system, and you can always revert back and see what it was like. Oh, what was it like whenever I first opened it up? And you can even be like, oh, what was it like a year ago? A year ago, I think I liked it better. And that way, like, nothing is lost unless you deliberately delete those things, and you kind of gather all these different versions over time. I think Rome is at 544 last I checked. Yes, that is what a beam is. It's a very big deal. It's a very big deal. And one of the biggest problems with a computer is things can get changed in names. And so you're like, hey, I had this name for this thing. Do you have it? And the other person's like, yeah, I do. You were looking for one thing, like a piece of code, and they just give you a picture of a puppy. They like overwrote the name, and that's all you get. If there's something that you need from them, but like you can't be guaranteed that when you give them a name, you'll get back that same thing, you've already corrupted the possible trust and reliance that could happen on the network of these computers talking to each other. I'm not qualified to really talk about all these kind of like computer science-y breakthroughs, but I am here to emphasize that the concept of a beam is very powerful. to try to bring it back to Rome research, they've kind of taken this nested structure plus bidirectional linking of pages. Well, obviously, I find it compelling. I use it all of the time. When it comes to like Urbit Rome, I don't exactly know what it means. Using a question mark, bidirectional linking of beams. It's like, which is to say, it's just files, right? Like files all over the world. If I could have my computer understand that these things are connected and represent that to me in some kind of way, then that would be what I want. So I guess these question marks are really, what is the representation of those files? I drew out this thing. My thought is like, oh, what if an application could have like a little button where it's like, press that button, and then it can show you a representation of the links that you have. Oh, you're watching Shrek 2, right? Let me see the linkings of that file, the Shrek 2 file. Well, I got my notes on Shrek 2. At timestamp 1505, my favorite part, and my notes on why it's my favorite part, the Udon, and then my own personal song for Shrek 2. Yeah, I got 1, 2, 3 links out from Shrek 2, and then notes on why something is my favorite part. It's like, it's kind of dumb, and it's not that well formed how the semantics and the meaning that's inside of those linking gets revealed. Like, I think is potentially just like open-ended for any kind of UI. But I did notice like a flaw. Here's my dealio, like connecting one file to another file. It's more coarse-grained than what I would ultimately want. In Rome, it's actually at the level that I would like to connect. So I get to add bidirectional links between pages through an arbitrarily small amount of text, which also gives it like a label and a name, which is really efficient and attractive. All my thoughts on Shrek 2. I think would be interesting is if this Shrek link wasn't just to another page of like more words, right? What if this was actually period? No question. No question about it. What if? Not a question. Meep, 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 meep. What if I press this and I go to the movie Shrek? I think that that's awesome. I would love that. However, that is not a file linked to another file. That is a certain amount of text in a file linking to a movie file. I wouldn't just want that. I would also want the granular level, like inside the movie. I would want to be able to link timestamps on the movie. That's the fine grain kind of way that I would want to interact with that. If anything, like I'm looking towards arbitrarily binding things like metadata and stuff, but it's like, it's going to really have to know the structure of those files. So where a beam completely solves the files thing, I could have like a small bit of writing and that could just connect over to the Shrek movie, but it would be the whole kind of thing. So I don't have a solution. It's just what I realized. I realized Rome research is working on a more fine-grained level, linking pages to pages. What I want is to actually embed whole parts or pieces. I want to take text and I want to be able to like play either a whole movie or a portion of a movie just by like clicking on it. I also want there to be a backlink possibility to return to the thing that I originally connected to and potentially connect that with even more things. That's what I want. All the same, well, so I built Rome because I wanted to copy Rome research. Once it dawned on me that one of the things that you can literally do is bidirectionally link files across the universe, the Urbit world, there's just no limit there, and that seemed really powerful to me. Representing it is a difficult thing, and also the desired fine-grained control would require a whole different kind of like protocol for pieces of those files to actually be linked to each other. That's like a whole thing. I wonder if you could even get like I guess binaries don't really work like that, but maybe it could. I don't know. I'm out of my depth there, but I think that's it. Have a lovely day. It's still morning here, so there's things that'll get done. I used to have some work to do in the tiny house. I hope this was enriching. I'm sure there was a couple of thoughts in there that was worthwhile to It's probably all I edited in. Okay, see you later. Bye. Screen off, camera off, audio off. Beta ejection's a little scary. Hey, this is a tag on. I made such a big fuss about Roam Research, but the truth is, like, Roam Research is 15 a month or 165 a year or something. It's like Roam Research is expensive, and I would not be using it if I didn't get grandfathered into the free version, because I was lucky enough for a buddy to tell me, like, before it like really caught on. He's like, this stuff is amazing. Like, and I switched over all my note stuff. But there's an alternative, and it's really taking off, and it's this open source option called Obsidian. Obsidian.md, like Markdown. I am already kind of considering changing it. In fact, there is free for just bringing it onto your computer and using it like Roam Research on your computer. The only catch is like this sync stuff. If you want it to live up on a server so that you can interact with it and have it sync across different things, like, I don't know about phone access or whatever. They're at least good about like encrypting it. And so, yeah, you'd need to have their service to have that all connected. But yeah, I just I didn't want anybody to feel like they're missing out. Well, because I'm find some tutorials about it, but it's free, open source. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that because I've been like driving home Roam is amazing for so long. Don't feel like you have to. Okay, that's it. Okay, bye.